بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم نحمده ونصلي على رسوله الكريم أما بعد السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. First of all, I would like to sincerely apologize for not having this session last Thursday. We had some technical difficulties, and really what that technical difficulties means is I wasn't available. So I don't want to blame our Miftah team. They were always available. It's just me. I couldn't come on time and complete this session. So I hope all of you can forgive me for that. Secondly, all the comments and suggestions that are coming on YouTube and Facebook, I've been reading them. Inshallah, we will have a dedicated session for that to answer those questions and just give some feedback on those. So please keep them coming. I'm benefiting from them, and I'm sure everyone else will benefit from them when we get to elaborate on those. Today's session will be dedicated to an individual from the family of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He was an individual who was there 50 years after the Prophet left this world. Just 50 years after the Prophet left this world, 50 to 51 years. We all know what happened in Karbala. Today, this is Muharram, right? Today is Muharram 22nd, I believe. And so on the 10th of Muharram, we all read or heard what happened. And these tragic events can always bring a tear to the eye of a believer. And it's so hard for me to speak about it actually. But during this event, there were Husayn radiallahu ta'ala anhu, he had 4 sons and 2 daughters. So there was Ali Akbar, the older brother, the Ali Akbar. He was shaheed in Karbala. And then you had Abdullah, he was that infant in the lap of Husayn radiallahu anhu when he was at that point in Karbala, in the battle of Karbala, when he saw his entire family, all the male folks of the family martyred in front of him, saw everyone that was supporting him. The bodies were laying on the ground, and he knew this was his final moments in this life. So he asked the women folks to send his baby, who was crying, in the tent outside, and he held his son Abdullah, who was at that time he was still a toddler actually. And some say he was only a few months old, some say he was a year old, but he was a baby nevertheless. And he held him in his lap, kissing him, smelling him, how much love we have for these children at that age. And as he was doing that, as he was having this final moments with his son, one enemy from the enemy line shot an arrow directed to the head of this baby, and this child passed away in the arms of Husayn radiallahu ta'ala anhu, and this was his son Abdullah. So that's his second son, Abdullah. Then he had a son by the name of Ja'far, who had no children. And then he had a son by the name of Ali Ibn Al-Husayn Ibn Ali bin Abi Talib anhu. He was known as Ali Asghar, the younger Ali, because Husayn one had 2 children by the name of Ali, the elder. One was Ali Al-Akbar, known as Ali Al-Akbar, and the other one was Ali Al-Asghar. And Ali Al-Asghar was then famously known as Imam Zayn Al-Abidin, rahimahullah. Zayn Al-Abidin, the adornment of the worshippers, right? So that's what that was his nickname, and that's what he was known as. He was also there in Karbala, but he was extremely sick. He was about 23 years old at this time, extremely sick, bedridden. People had thought that he would not survive just out of his sickness. So he's the only survivor of the children, of the boys from Husayn anhu. Even him, Shimr, one of the enemies, comes inside the tent attempting to kill him, even though he couldn't even move his limbs. He was so sick. And at that point, the enemies told their leader, Shimr, hey, what's wrong with you? This guy is sick. Don't you have any shame? You're going to attack a defenseless person who's sick, who's laying on his bed? Leave him alone. And he's the only adult that's left with these females. Leave him, maybe he will take care of them. So that's why he was left. And second time he had a death scare was when he was presented, the Ahl Bayt, the family of Prophet was presented in front of Ubaydullah bin Ziyad. And he asked, what's your name? And he said, my name is Ali. He said, oh, didn't we kill Ali already? And he says, no, that he stayed quiet. And then he asked the question again, hey, didn't we already kill Ali? And Ali bin Husayn, Imam Zayn Al-Abidin, stays quiet. Then he asked again. Then Imam Zayn Al-Abidin says, yes, you did. But that was my older brother. I'm also Ali. Right? So he says, oh, he said to him boastingly, he says, look, we killed him. And Ali ibn Husayn, Imam Zayn Al-Abidin, stays quiet. Again, he boasts in his face, look, we did this and we did that. And then Ali ibn Husayn, he says, وَمَا كَانَ نَفْسٍ أَن تَمُوتَ إِلَّا بِإِذْنِ اللَّهِ. There's no soul can taste death except from the will and the permission of Allah. So you don't kill anybody. When a person leaves this world, that's his or her time. No one can bring death closer or push death further. And he mentions this. And Zayn Al-Abidin, when he said this, Ubaydah bin Ziyad, who's this great oppressor, he was bothered by this. A tyrant doesn't like when you speak in front of him. That's the quality of tyrants. And he said he was really mad that he spoke back and everyone heard what he said. So he said, I'm going to kill you too. So Imam Zayn Al-Abidin, rahimahullah, and he was about to be killed at that time. He said, look, if you're going to kill me, just make sure you send somebody who is pious, righteous, that can take these females back to Medina, because I'm the only family member of the Prophet left alive. When Ubaydah bin Ziyad was about to do this, then the sister of Hussein by the name of Zainab, who is the Puppo, we call Puppo, the elder sister of Hussein, Puppo, she, in Urdu we say that, she jumped on Hussein and she looked towards Ubaydah bin Ziyad and she says, have some mercy on this child, he's sick and he's the only one that we have. And if you're going to kill him, you better kill me first. And that's Ubaydah bin Ziyad said, all right, let this kid go. And then he was sent back to Medina after stopping off in front of Yazid. He goes back to Medina and he lives there. This child then grows older and he would always cry in his salah. He would cry so much in his salah. And people asked him, why do you cry so much? And he says, don't you see the story of Yaqub alayhi salam? He lost one son and he cried so much that he became blind. I lost my entire family and they died right in front of my eyes. And he says, that makes me tear up, it makes me cry because I think about them. So this child, he survives. And he becomes a very righteous, of course from the family of the Prophet he becomes, when you hear his stories and read about him, you say, subhanAllah, what a person. So of course, this series is not about highlighting individuals, but people don't know enough about him. That's why it's just dedicating a few minutes of my today's session towards this. And then there's one specific story I want to mention about him and his mother. That's what this series is about, right? The respect and honor that these great individuals who had all the honor in the world had for their parents, for their mothers and fathers. Like today what happens is children get fame, we become famous or become doctors, engineers, ulama, whatever it is, we get some. But then as we grow older and we become less dependent on our parents, we also become more distant from our parents. When we were dependent on them, we couldn't do anything without them, then we were always with them. And then as you see, parents say, as the child gets his license, and they get their cell phone, they start going out, then the time that the child is spending decreases and decreases and decreases. And this is a tragedy of our times. These people were not close to, they didn't have friends. They didn't just have friends. They were the best people to walk on the face of the earth after the Prophets, but they still were humble enough to sit in front of their mother and father knowing that there's no one better than them in my life. It doesn't matter how great I get, this is the greatest person in my life. This person, doesn't matter how much people respect me, this person deserves all my respect. So think about this. Imagine, the amount of respect this person had once he comes to Mecca for Hajj. At that time, there was this one, the Khalifa, his name was Hisham bin Abdul Malik. And he was trying to find his way to kiss the Hajar al-Aswad. We know how difficult it is to kiss the Hajar al-Aswad. The king at that time was trying to find his way to kiss the Hajar al-Aswad and no one was making room for him. And all of a sudden, this brilliant, handsome young person, I say handsome for a reason because one thing I love about him, he used to wear nice clothes. So he was a worshipper, but he used to dress nice, wear nice clothes, wear the best perfume. He used to wear white imama with his, this part behind his shoulder blades like this. And he used to walk around and he said, قُلْ مَنْ حَرَّمَ زِينَةَ اللَّهِ الَّتِي أَخْرَجَ لِعِبَادِهِ. It's like, say, who can make beautification, adornment, impermissible, that which Allah has given you, that adornment and beautification that Allah has made permissible, who can make it haram? It's permissible. So he used to dress nicely, very elegantly. And that's what when you read about every youngster and every individual can read about these great people and find something that's relevant to them. And then, you know what, this person seems pretty cool. You know how we say in our language, this person seems pretty, like this. So he comes to Makkah. And when Hisham ibn Abdul Malik was denied entry into to kiss the Hajar al-Aswad, he walks in. As soon as he walks in, everyone moves out of the way. Everyone. And he just goes and kisses the Hajar al-Aswad with no pushing, no shoving. Everyone just moved out of the way. When they moved out of the way, there was an entourage with the king. So one guy who didn't know him, he's like, who's this guy? And Hisham ibn Abdul Malik, I don't know, even though he knew. He refused to say who he was. At that time, there was a poet that was standing there. His name was Farazdaq. And that's why I love poetry, because if it wasn't captured in poetry, you would never know what happened that time, right? This Farazdaq, who was a great poet, he says, هذا الذي تعرف البطحاء وطأته والبيت يعرفه والحل والحرم هذا ابن خير عباد الله كلهم هذا التقي النقي الطاهر العلم هذا ابن فاطمة إن كنت جاهله بجده أنبياء الله قد ختموا ما قال لا قدت إلا في تشهده لولا التشهد لكانت لاؤه نعم. And he goes on. He says, you don't know who this person is? This is that individual that every inch of Mecca in Arabia recognizes him. The Kaaba recognizes him. This is the child of the best person to ever walk on the face of the earth. This is the son of Fatima. If you don't know him, that doesn't reduce this person's honor, but it reduces your honor. Who are you? You don't know this guy? This is the grandson of that prophet who was a seal of all prophets. He never in his life said no to anybody except for in tashahhud. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. If it wasn't for tashahhud, even his nose would have been yes. You know, what's interesting about that part is that he was an individual, when someone would come to him to ask him, he would say, marhaba. You know, when someone comes for donations, we're like, oh man, he's here again. Someone stands up for a fundraiser, oh no, another one. Anyone would come to ask him, he would say, welcome, welcome. Welcome to that person who's going to hold my amana and take it to Allah on the Day of Judgment. Who's gonna transfer my trust from here to akhirah, knowing that this person was a means of barakah and blessing for him. When he passed away, they saw on his back, they saw all these traces of weight. He had all these marks, as if he used to hold and carry so much burden on his shoulders, sacks of rice and food. So they said, what's going on? We never seen him do that. He used to give during the day, people used to know about it. But at night, he used to carry provision and drop it off in front of people's homes. And no one knew he used to do that. He used to carry it himself. And after he passed away, the people that he used to feed didn't know who used to feed them. They used to see in the morning there was food there. There was money there. After he passed away, the people of Medina realized it was Imam Zayn Al-Abidin, that he was the one who used to feed them. After all these virtues, how was he with his mother? And I'll just mention the story. Very short. People would never see him eating with his mother. He would sit down with his mother in the most respectful manner. And his mother would eat in front of him, and he would just put the food down for her, make sure everything's perfect for her. The water's there, everything's there. I say this because youngsters nowadays have such bad eating habits with our parents. I remember a mother complaining to me about how her son walks in at 2, 3 o'clock at night, and she's diabetic and she has a lot of health conditions. So she prepares some breakfast for herself that she's going to eat right when she wakes up in the morning. When she wakes up, the fridge is opened up, everything is eaten, and the dishes are left there. And then she has to get up and now she has to prepare it again. A lot of times we eat with our parents. We don't even think. We come home, we don't even think about our parents. And even if our parents are eating, we don't even think, okay, should I present my father or mother with food? Should I put the plate down? What else? Before they even ask, knowing what they want, knowing exactly how they eat, what they eat, in which manner they eat, what time they eat, so you're there for them so you can serve them. Remember, when you had no other provision in this world, the only one that could have fed you was your mother. And that's all you had to survive. And today, she's not asking you for anything, but just be there. And I just think, I mean, us youngsters in this country, and maybe all over the world, we just have some really horrible eating habits, especially with our parents. And so we just, it's like a selfish nature. We come, whenever we're hungry, we eat. Whenever we don't feel like eating, we don't even consider the person sitting next to us, even if it could be our parents. This person, Imam Zayn Al-Abidin rahimahullah, would sit down on the tablecloth, put it down for his mother, put the food down, put everything down, and then he would pretend pretend like he's eating. Now his mother is very old, and some say this was not even his biological mother, but rather this was his foster mother. So he would sit with her and never eat though. He would never eat from the same plate as his mother. So somebody asked, إِنَّكَ مِنْ أَبَرِّ النَّاسِ بِأُمِّكَ وَلَسْنَا نَرَاكَ تَأْكُلْ مَعَ أُمِّكَ فِي صَحْفَةٍ. He said, we consider you to be the most obedient, respectful son to a mother that the world has ever seen. But we never see you eat in the same plate. That seems like an oxymoron. You're respectful, but you don't eat in the same plate. He says, أخاف أن تسبق يدي إلى ما قد سبقت عينها إليه فأكون قد أققتها. He says, I fear that my hand would grab, just for example's sake, my hand would grab a portion of meat to eat. That same portion my mother looked at and she was just about to eat it, but since my hand went first, now she can't eat it, and I fear that this is enough to disobey my mother. This is enough to get the sin, the sin of disobedience and breaking ties with the parents, so I don't do it, I don't eat, just because I'm afraid that she might want something and I might not be able to give it to her. Today our parents are not looking at things, they're telling us over and over and over again, and we still don't do it. He's just talking about her eyes just going towards that morsel, and maybe I'll eat it before. And then he's considering that to be a major sin. Uquq al-walidain is the min al-kaba'ir, not a small mistake, a major sin, a major crime. Ajib. What would he say if he were to see us today? What would he say if he were to see us receiving phone calls from our parents and just pretending like they're not calling and not picking up? What would he say to us if he were to see us receiving text messages from our mother and father but not responding in time because we're busy? We see it but we ignore it. What would he say to us? Would he not cry over the state of the ummah today? So I leave you with this message, that look at how these great people treated their parents, how they sat with them, how they were so considerate even about their glance, that they wanted to make sure that I don't disobey my mother, that she might have wanted that and I took it. We know what our parents want, we don't do it. We know what they don't want and we still do it. Allah make us among those who are truly dutiful and respectful to our parents, and Allah honor our parents who took care of us all our lives. Jazakallah khair wa salaamu alaykum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.